Hello and welcome to Mr. C History. Now I'm standing in front of a very tall man with an oddly small head. It is of course the statue of Peter the Great here in Deptford, and today I'm going to go on a little journey to discover about his brief but very eventful visit to London. On the 11th of January 1698, Peter the Great arrived here at these steps of the York Watergate. Now the River Thames looked a bit different to what it did now, and it would have lapped right up to this gate here. And he arrived with a retinue of all sorts of people, 70 soldiers, apparently as tall as he was, and he was nearly 7 foot tall, a cook, 2 clocksmiths, 6 trumpeters, 4 dwarfs, everyone needs a dwarf, and crucially as well, a monkey, which we'll hear more about maybe. Now, who was this Peter the Great? Of course, I'm assuming that you know, but he was the first emperor of Russia. He wasn't the first Tsar of Russia, but he is the person who would be conceived the idea as the head of this huge Russian empire. And he goes on to create the city of St. Petersburg. And why was he here in London? Well, he'd actually been on for about a year or so, been touring Europe. He'd gone to Venice and Vienna, and he spent a long time in the Netherlands. He was learning what it was to make Russia a modern state. Russia had been, a bit backward, a bit agricultural, a bit sort of, and had lost its alliances, and so it needed to build it up to become modernized again. And Peter the Great feared invasion from the Ottomans, so he needed to make friends. So he was here in England to learn some stuff and to make friends. Above Temple Station is this rather unusual artist's garden, but I'm not here to see that because I'm actually here to see this nondescript building, because this was the site of Norfolk Place, which is where the Tsar, Peter the Great, lived for his first couple of weeks here in London. And he went off he did the usual sightseeing things. He went to Greenwich, the Royal Observatory, went to the Royal Society, went around to various different museums. He even went to the University of Oxford as well to learn, and he met very significant people, including the King, William III at the time. What's interesting, after about 2 or 3 weeks, the King, William III, asked the Tsar, "When are you leaving?" Clearly, I think the Tsar had made his presence felt with the stories which you're going to tell. And in the end, William had to say, look, we're not going to give you any more horses and carriages. We're going to not supply you stuff. You need to tell us when you're going. The Tsar eventually chose April, so he'd only got here in January, remember. And the Tsar also decided to move on to Deptford. This is the grounds of Sayes Court in Deptford, where Peter moved to after being in central London. Why did he move here? Because he wanted to be near the docks in Deptford, where they built a lot of ships. Because Peter the Great wanted to learn the craft of building ships. Now the Dutch were the best at this, and he'd been in the Netherlands, but they'd been a bit sceptic about this Russian Tsar over with them, so they didn't tell him anything. But over here in London, we would say, yeah, fill your boots, mate. And he went off into the docks, and apparently he was there on the, building things, carving things with wood. The dockers loved him for doing that. He did crash a boat on the Thames though, so maybe that was less of a love, but crucially he lived here. Now there was a rather nice palace here, and it was owned by a man called John Evelyn. Now he had rented it to a man called Benbow, Admiral Benbow, who pubs are named after him, and Benbow sublet it to Peter. So John Evelyn didn't really know anything about it. And in the 2 months that Peter the Great was here, he totally wrecked the place. It's unbelievable. Bed linen ripped, all the soft furnishings gone. Every single chair was either destroyed or had gone missing, put into the fire, for example. He even managed to destroy the floor somehow. I don't know how he quite did that. The garden, John Evelyn's pride, he absolutely ruined it as well. Apparently he destroyed every single wheelbarrow. Not sure how, but the worst thing he did really was one of the walls, he drove straight through it, made a massive hole in the wall just so that he could get to the docks a little bit quicker. Incredible. Was this just drunken rampage? Was it the monkey? I mean, who knows, but why did he do this in such a short time? And to such an extent where John Evelyn, when he came back, he couldn't afford to fix it all really, so he just had to leave it in ruin, and that's why we are left with the part today. There's nothing that exists. Apparently over there is a mulberry tree that is said to have been planted by Peter the Great in John Evelyn's garden. I actually doubt it a little bit, because Peter the Great seemed to have destroyed everything. Why would he plant something again? I mean, I don't know, but you can make your mind up. But wow, I mean, incredible. Now this is 48 Great Tower Street, and on the site just there used to stand a pub. In 1698 there was a pub there, and Peter the Great would come here regularly with a friend he made, the Marquis of Carmarthen, Peregrine Osborne. Now the good report suggests he sat there with his pipe and his newspaper, all very well. The bad suggestions maybe was that the drunkenness spilt out onto the street, but whatever the case, they renamed the pub the Tsar's Head, or the Tsar of Russia, and it stood here for a good long time until it was replaced by what we see now. There is still a pub over the road now with a brewdog, so maybe they're still flying fast on that. And indeed just down the way as well is Muscovy Street. Now, it all wasn't just fun, frolics and drunken destruction for Peter. He also found his downtime, specifically here in Deptford High Street, where he attended a meeting of the Quakers. Which is rather extraordinary, really, because their reputation is, you know, quite constrained and not loving of alcohol, etc. But apparently he was quite taken with them, and he enjoyed learning about their work ethic and everything like that. And he found time to meet with several leading members, including our old friend William Penn. William Penn at the time was the largest non-royal landowner, because of course he owned vast tracts of North America. Pennsylvania is named after him. Now their conversation took place in German, interestingly, so we don't quite know what they were talking about. Maybe they were talking about deals, trading between Russia and what would be a new America. Could Peter the Great become a big landowner in America? Wouldn't that be amazing to know? But what we don't know what took place, but we do know it took place here in Deptford High Street. Let's go have a closer look to this rather peculiar statue. I say his head is really, really small. I think the architect has got a similar one, I think maybe in Russia actually, where it's very, but you know, he was a tall man, nearly 7 foot apparently, maybe not. And he's very tall here with enormous shoes, absolutely, but a tiny head. And he's got his throne here with lovely nice gilding, of course, and you know, the imperial cannon. But unfortunately, under this box, no more is there. There was a statue of one of the 4 dwarfs that came along with him. Mighty Peter the Great, tall there, tiny dwarf. But unfortunately, people keep stealing the metal off this statue. So I don't know if the dwarf's in there, it's half of it's in there or what, and what's going to happen from it. But extraordinary small-headed Peter. Well, wasn't that fantastic? Now let's talk about the actual significance, or did anything really come about from this visit? Well, let's look at from Peter's perspective first of all. Yes, he does leave, and he for the next few decades he transforms Russia into the vibrant, huge European powerhouse. He starts to industrialize, he builds that huge and impressive city of St. Petersburg, which becomes a modern European powerful city. He wages war against the Swedes, etc. He really is this true hero of Russia, to such an extent that in 2003, on a 4-day visit here to the UK, President Vladimir Putin came specifically to this site here, and he stood where I am standing, and there were speeches and press, etc. This, again, is the power of history, the power of statues, the power of Peter the Great. But what about for London, for England? Well, I mean, yes, we gained a new ally. England had been ostracised since 1649 for killing their king by many of the royal families of Europe. Peter embraced us again, and we've got this new powerful trading partner to buy our stuff, but crucially to sell us useful things, specifically timber from Siberia, to build all our ships that we could go and colonize the world with. So yes, a very significant person. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that as always. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.